Holding a book in your hand that holds the power to change everything. At first glance, it might seem merely insignificant. It's just a blank notebook. But what if I told you the true power to create something incredible lies within these very empty pages? Because within these pages lies the beginning of something extraordinary. To a writer, it's the first page of a best-selling novel. To an artist, it's a canvas waiting for inspiration. And to someone with an idea, it's the blueprint for change. In many ways, our life is just like this notebook. Its value doesn't lie in what it is already, but in what we choose to make out of it. Every moment, every interaction is just like a blank page waiting for us to write something meaningful. Think about it. Riding on the bus with strangers could be a chance to make new friends. Going to an international school could be a getaway to learning about new cultures. Ultimately, opportunities aren't things we simply stumble upon or just find. They're things we create by seeing the potential in everyday experiences and choosing to act on it. For me, it took years to realize this, as I had spent so much of my time comparing myself to my sister, who seemed to have already written the perfect story. While her pages seemed to be overflowing and full, mine remained blank and untouched, waiting for a beginning. I grew up constantly comparing myself to my sister. We had the same teachers, went to the same schools, meaning we got the same education, and even had the same parents. Yet she always felt like a version of my future self that I could never get up to. She was the almost me I wished I could become. But the only problem was, when I tried to see myself in 4 years, I couldn't see myself standing where she was. It felt like I was trapped in her shadow, watching her excel, where I stayed quiet, unsure on who I was. I couldn't stop tormenting myself with the question, why her? Was she just more talented, smarter, just inherently better than me? Maybe that was it. Maybe she'd gotten all the good genes, and I was simply destined to be this. It would have been quite easy to accept this, to say yes to being second best. It would have been quite easy to close my book even before I wrote my first chapter. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't sit still knowing I had the pen and notebook right in front of me, yet I chose to write nothing. There was something inside me that couldn't let me walk away from the possibility that I could write a story all on my own. I realized the problem wasn't in how I was measuring her success. The problem wasn't her success I had a problem with. It was how I was measuring her success in the first place. I was trapped in a mindset that measured worth through grades, percentages, and ranking. A mindset so deeply ingrained in the educational system that made me and so many others believe that success was just a numbers game. My worth, it seemed, was defined through how well I performed on paper and not through the experiences and growth I had along the way. For decades, educational systems have been viewed as a place where we fill our pages with one thing: grades. Our success is measured by the letters on our transcript and the degrees we hang on our walls. But today, these systems are beginning to change, beginning to recognize that students are more than just their test scores. Educational institutes located worldwide are implementing a wider way of learning than just dedicated to the classroom. In countries like India, traditional schooling system relied heavily on ranking students from best to worst according to exam results. Their report cards were often accompanied with ranks comparing themselves to their peers, just like I compared myself to my sister. The pressure to be the best and outperform everyone prioritized memorizing over just fostering experiences. I realized I was trapped in this traditional mindset, stuck in an invisible race, a race where I was constantly running but never quite reaching the finish line. This relentless pursuit of external validation mirrored my comparisons with my sister, whose success became the benchmark that I strove for, but could never reach. Consumed by trying to be her, I left little room to write my own story. But these educational systems that's causing this comparative mindset is changing in today's age. Policies are being reinforced to reduce the over-reliance of exam grades, paving for a more holistic approach to education. Schools are recognizing that students are more than just their test scores. Similarly, U.S. college admissions are moving from slowly focusing on grades to focusing on to a broader approach of their applicants and their stories and the unique stories they create outside of the textbook. So, was this the answer? Was it just that simple to just pick up my pen and start writing? Was it as simple to just stop comparing myself to my sister, to stop comparing her grades? Was it as easy as just closing my book on the old mindset and starting afresh? At first, I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if it was truly that simple or if I was just trying to convince myself. But I realized while I was trapped in this traditional system, the world around me was changing. Education was no longer just about grades. Doors to universities, opportunities, jobs were opening up to people who brought something unique to the table, something more than just a perfect transcript. And like so many others, I had been conditioned to believe that only the best grade or the biggest award could define my worth. What I've come to realize is this: focusing solely on grades is like filling your notebook with the same word over and over again. Sure, it's technically full, but is it meaningful? Is that the story you want to tell? The thing that made my sister's life seem so perfect wasn't her grades. In fact, it was the opposite. She wasn't consumed by them. She didn't define her worth by percentage or rank, instead invested her energy into experiences like leading clubs and connecting to people. She wrote her story not with test scores, but with stories that made her feel alive. While I was so caught up in the pressure to keep up with her, what I failed to see was that she wasn't competing with me at all. In fact, she was writing her own story, a story not only defined by grades, but with the stories that she embraced. Figuring out the problem was one thing, but fixing it, that's the real challenge. Change doesn't happen all at once. It's not like flipping a switch or finding all the answers through some sudden epiphany. It's a slow, deliberate process when you start to rethink what truly matters. Every day became another blank page in my notebook, not just waiting for me to write something for the sake of writing me, but urging me to live it first. It was no longer about grades or comparisons, but rather about the stories that I created outside of a classroom. I stand here no longer seeing a blank notebook, but seeing a book waiting for infinite possibility. It's not just a book waiting to be filled, but a living, breathing collection of moments that changes with every step and every action. I feel a profound sense of possibility, knowing that the most meaningful stories are still waiting to be written. Here's my book with my story, one that I'm continuing to fill every day with the experiences that I embraced. You've got one too, right here, right now. The only question is, are you willing to begin writing? Are you willing to begin writing free from comparisons and free from the expectations you feel empowered to live up to? You all have the pen in your hands. What story do you choose to write today? Thank you.